It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Monday evening, and it's the review show right here on ZiFM Sport, your favorite sports show on Zimbabwe radio. Good evening, Zimbabwe. Welcome to it. We've got a power-packed edition of the show for you this evening, and a power-packed team, no doubt, to deliver it. That team is Barry Manandi, Chris Midzi, Alois Munjira, the former Warriors striker, and we'll be giving him an opportunity to talk to us about the Warriors' performance in Cameroon. They just ended Chan campaign where they played 3-1-0, drew 0 and lost all 3 points in the bag, 0. It will be interesting to hear what Alois Munjira thinks about Logarosic and his band of warriors. Our producer is Sean Tafirinika, and my name is Mike Madoda. That story on the Warriors is leading the show tonight on the home front, and we'll also have some international sports news for you. We head into South Africa, where it was Currie Cup semi-final time. 2 derbies, the Coastal Derby, which saw the Sharks upend Western Province out in Cape Town, and their coach Sean Everett is a happy man after his Chargers defeated Province to reach the Currie Cup final, where they'll play the Bulls up from Pretoria, who upended the Lions in their semi-final matchup. It promises to be an exciting show.
In Around the World in 60, we'll take off in Abu Dhabi, where Conor McGregor admitted he was heartbroken after a shock UFC knockout by underdog Dustin Poirier left the superstar's future in the cage uncertain. In California, Siwoo Kim defied a magnificent final round charge from Patrick Cantlay to clinch his first PGA Tour title in almost 4 years at the American Express. And in Wisconsin, Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers will face reigning champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, in Super Bowl 55 on the 7th of February after appending Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
We'll take a break midway for our play of the day. It is Manic Monday. Then we dive into the Castle Lager World Football Report, where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes Manchester United's 3-2 victory over Liverpool was a statement by his players after reaching the FA Cup 5th round. In Serie A, Zlatan Ibrahimovic was left frustrated after AC Milan's 3-0 defeat at Atalanta. In La Liga, Atletico Madrid manager Diego Simeone is keeping calm over his side's La Liga title challenge despite Los Rojiblancos' 7-point lead at the top of the table. And in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich coach Hansi Flick believes his team can do much better despite racking up an impressive 4-0 win at Schalke last night. All of that and so much more to look forward to. But first, our power play. Here's Jason Derulo and Nuka. This one's called Love, Not War. Remember, sport is about love, not war.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis. The lion roars. The warrior beats his drum. Battle lines are drawn in the jungles of Cameroon. It's your Chan 2021 report on ZiFM Sport.
Remember, we like to keep it interactive here on ZiFM Sport. Get in touch with us at ZiFM Sport. That's our handle on Facebook as well as Twitter. You can also follow and interact with us in our individual capacities at Chris Midzi, at Barry Manandi, at Gazaman14 for Alois Munjira, at Sean Tafirinika, and myself at Mike Madoda. Let's talk sport. Keep your messages coming in. Keep your comments, especially around the Warriors' performance at the Chan tournament, which is being held in in Cameroon. Chan 2021, Zimbabwe packing their bags and on their way back home. The first nation to be knocked out of that tournament alongside Burkina Faso. No more interest in that tournament, but our interest is in where did it go wrong and what can we fix? Can we fix it? And what are the things we can get right in the future? Now, as you already know, Zimbabwe out of that tournament after losing our third and final Group A game against Mali last night. The Warriors, of course, losing courtesy of a Demba Diallo 11th minute ago. And that's all that Mali, the Stallions, needed to upend the Warriors. And you've got to say, Alois, it was a disappointing performance last night, but no different from the two other disappointing performances that we have seen in the tournament.
Yeah, of course, it's something that we expected, Mike, and we knew that it was going to be dismal. And the whole tournament has been chaotic, actually. You know, never mind the play on the field. The whole setup, the whole preparation, going there, arriving, everything was just chaotic, and it's actually very sad. You remember, we didn't even have a physical trainer in camp as well, and I don't know how we do things. So for me, I was not surprised that we, at the end of the day, got beaten 3 times and got kicked out of the tournament, and the chaotic stuff that is all over the place is actually disappointing for Zimbabwean football. But yes, the performances as well, you know, it leaves a lot to be desired. I sit to look at 3 games that we played. What were we playing? What system? How? You try to figure out how exactly were we playing. We don't even have a pattern. What were we doing? I don't know. We just went there like team yangu sadzana kuzengeza versus say, okay guys, let's go and play. Ningara available guys, let's go. That's like what we did. And I'm not surprised, Mike, that we are out and we are back home.
Now, Chris, you take a look at the results that the Warriors were on the receiving end of. Do they slightly flatter the Warriors? Because, you know, there's a school of thought, or there are people out there that are saying, oh, no, these are narrow defeats. But the truth is, if you watch the encounters, Zimbabwe was outplayed in all 3 encounters.
Outplayed significantly in all 3 encounters. I don't think for any of those 3 matches you can take a look at them and say, okay, Zimbabwe was competitive here and here and here, and we did this well. You can't look at any part of any of those 3 games and say this is something that we did well. We were significantly outplayed, like Alois said, because we didn't have a system. If we were to sit here and try to figure out what system was Zimbabwe using, we can't figure it out. What tactics did the coach employ? Can't figure it out in any of those games. Taking a look at his selection of the players, what was the motivation behind it? Can't figure it out. So when you have a situation like that, the results are flattering. Essentially what we did is kind of minimize, because we could have had a lot worse damage here.
Well, let's take a look at those selections that you have mentioned, Chris. In goal was Nelson Chajga. Tafadzwa Charavade was in the starting lineup, as was Pawo Govere of Golden Eagles Football Club. Tatenda Tavengwa, Andrew Mbeba, the Kabila is actual name, not his nickname. Carlos Mavurume, Patson Jaure captained the side. Shadrack Nyahwa, Farao Matare, that duo from Bulawayo Chiefs. King Nadolo of Dynamos, and Kader Amin of Ngezi Platinum Stars, who was substituted in the 3rd minute for Ian Nekati. Now, Barry, let's talk about the changes that Logarisic made throughout the tournament, okay? Because every game he made wholesale substitutions. Zimbabwe using 3 goalkeepers in this tournament. Every game had a different goalkeeper. You know, if you can think of anything, what was the reasoning behind this by Logarisic? Because, listen, this is a tournament that you're there to participate, to try and do your best, to try and do well, to try and get into the knockout stages, yet the guy looks like he's on a continual experiment.
Yeah, and that's a tragedy. That's why we've come up with the results that we have, because it has been a continual experiment. We go back to that December camp where there were the perpetual trials for players. Again, an experiment as a result of not knowing your players. Again, go to the tournament. Ultimately, now you've got your squad that you want to play with. Again, you don't know your players because Where in the game where you needed a victory, you don't have any attacking intent, no creativity, you don't have anything that you can say to, you can hold on to or hang your hat on and say, this is what we're trying to achieve. So it's been an endless experiment. So I can't answer your question because I don't know the answer. Why we go to a tournament, use 3 different goalkeepers, yet it's tournament football. Tournament football, you should have your first 11 that is nailed on, and changes are injury inspired or perhaps tactical shifts. It wasn't that way.
Now, Barry, if you can't answer that question, I'll forgive you, but I would love you to at least attempt to answer this question and shed a bit of light on this one. I'll start off by telling you the interesting statistic that of all the Warriors that were selected by Logaricic for CHAN 2021, everyone enjoyed a start, okay? They were in the starting lineup at some point in the tournament, all except for Denver Mukamba. I mean, it may have been off for 2.5 minutes, but he at least started at game. Denver Mukamba, nada, nothing. Not even in the starting lineup. You and I attended a number of the Warriors practice sessions where Denver Mukamba was easily the best player on the field. He stood head and shoulders above his peers, looked like he would be a creative force for Logaricic. He doesn't even get selected in a dead rubber where the result is inconsequential.
Yeah, that's concerning. I can only assume again that there are problems between him and the coach, because if everyone else has been given a start, why not Denver? Because this was a dead rubber. There was nothing that we were chasing. If anything, we wanted to just give a bit of shine to a tournament that was a terrible misadventure. And this Denver Mukamba is the sort of guy who could possibly make and give you that redemption, and he wasn't given a start. So the only assumption is that there was perhaps bad blood between either the head coach or the assistants with Denver Mukamba, because there's no reason for it. Everyone else got a start. Why not Denver?
Alois, your thoughts on picking Patson Jaure in midfield? This is a guy, yes, he has played as a fullback before. He spent the greater majority of the greater part of his career as a centre-back. To play him in midfield?
You see, Mike, that's what I was talking about, that what is happening. We don't know what we are doing, but we are a tournament football. Barry said it. We should be going to a tournament knowing exactly which lineup is going to be playing. You know, even the fans, we are supposed to be knowing who is going to be in the lineup. We know already our team that is going to line up for that tournament. But we go there, like you said, every player enjoyed a start. It's tournament football. Guys, honestly speaking, you know, I don't understand. Now we go and experiment. He didn't even play as a midfielder here in Zimbabwe when they were doing those I don't know if trial games that they were doing here. He was not even playing there. Then you get to a tournament, then you decide you're changing the formation you are playing in. It means that there was no plan. We didn't plan for this tournament. The coach didn't have a plan. He didn't know what he was doing. I don't know if he, even up to now, if the coach knows what he's doing. I don't know, because right now we don't know what they were doing. But the coach is the driver. He is the conductor. We India no conduct everything. Is no fata kuma tactics. Our coach. This is what we are doing. But this thing, I don't know. This is the worst ever tournament that Zimbabwe has ever attended. I've never seen such chaos.
And here's the thing. We normally lay blame at ZiFM's doorstep, don't we, Chris? Usually heading into tournaments of this nature, we would have been saying, you know what, the camp was just poor, it was poorly organized, the accommodation wasn't up to standard, they didn't have enough time to practice, then there would be the inevitable issues usually on the eve of the tournament and during the tournament where there will be a squabble over the appearance fees. But we didn't have any of that. Camp was well organized. Their board, they were staying out at Pandari in the affluent suburb, so they were staying in decent accommodation. They had decent amount of time to train. By all accounts and purposes, ZiFM at least was better than it has been in recent years. Now, we're not saying it was perfect, but we're saying that in comparison to some of the tournaments that we have headed out to, even AFCON for that matter, if I remember AFCON 2017, AFCON 2019 in Egypt, which were all sort of like it took off on the bedrock of some controversy. This time there was none of that. So you're really taking a look at Logaricic and saying that, you know what, he squandered an opportunity, because it's never going to be this good with this ZiFM administration.
it's never going to be this good with the ZiFM administration in terms of preparations. Like you mentioned, they had everything set up well. Ideally, if COVID hadn't sort of ravaged the squad the way it is, we would have had some of the best preparations that we've had in a long time. But the situation is that, look, Garisic, when you have a head coach who, in my view, probably doesn't have as good relationships with the rest of his coaching staff as he should. He's operating from a place of not knowing the players. He's juggling the squad around. He's making poor selections. He's making poor tactical decisions. And that's all because he's not utilizing the entire arsenal at his disposal in terms of the rest of the coaching staff.
And that's how it should be.
For a reason.
Isn't it, Chris? Where, if you don't know the players, if you don't understand the Zimbabwe football system, surely that should demand that you lean more on your assistants, because you need their input, you need their knowledge, you need their advice.
Exactly. You need their knowledge, you need their input, you need their advice, because these are people who've been working in the Zimbabwean system for a long time. They've seen these players from when they were playing very junior football. They've seen them come all the way up to the national squad. And because of that, these are people you're going to lean on and trust because they know these players better than you. This is Zimbabwe. We don't necessarily have game tape on majority of these players. So it's not like he even had that as the reference point. So as a head coach, Garisic has failed. This time, the blame sits squarely at his door.
It certainly does, because I'd agree with Chris there, Mike, because you look at what is our question that we can't provide an answer for is, what is Garasic's style? We've seen him coach the full international side. We've seen him coach the locals at Chan. We can't figure out what Garasic's style is, because it shouldn't matter what players are called into camp for the national team. And I say that tongue in cheek. Let me explain why. It shouldn't matter on the basis that he should have a style and say that I want a goalkeeper who can play the ball at his feet, because we play a high line and we use the goalkeeper as an extra defender. I want these positions with this type of players. And then his assistants can then say, right, if you're looking for a goalkeeper who can play it at his feet, then you're talking about this player. Then the squad begins to come together on the basis of your plan. I go back to what Aloy said. What is Garasic's plan? What did he want to achieve? What did he want to do in those games? The first game, we thought that, okay, he was ultra defensive. It was our first game of the tournament. But we now realize that that's all he's got. He tries to defend all the time. How do you then score goals in the other net? That's how it should have happened, and it didn't happen that way. And hindsight is 2020. But in truth, we saw the signs of trouble after that Cameroon game.
Well, the punters are coming in on social media, and of course, inevitably, the debate around Garisic, his suitability or his lack of ability as a coach. Listen, that is, of course, the thing that many people are going to be talking about. And you've got Jonah Govero. Good evening to you. You say, bring back Pasua ne Gumbezo Rake. And I understand that, because Pasua had to work under the most difficult of circumstances, but yet the man had a knack of getting results now and again for the Warriors in spite of those circumstances. You got Taku Ruzibe says, with such performances, we are better off nema local coaches edu apa tiri kutambisa ma resources. Keep your messages coming in, and of course I want to hear your thoughts on what you think about Garisic. Musa, Frosty Musa, you call yourself. You say this coach Zdravko, and he calls him Batman, says we did not make it at Chan because Juju was used. And he's a bit of an eccentric coach, isn't he, Alois Garisic? But the fans will always want results. The fans will always want the Warriors to do well. And it looks like the media is turning against him. The fans are turning against Garisic.
Yeah, Mike, he's a nice guy, but we don't hire a coach because he's a nice guy. We hire a coach so that we can play good football. We want to win things. And now when you look at the situation, Mike, the red flag was supposed to be raised the very time he started picking players from trial games. How do you pick a whole national team player from a friendly trial game? Like seriously, a whole national team player from that one game? That one game, you just watch a player playing for 20 minutes and you say this is the national team material. Come, and you drop a player who was coached by experienced coaches that know these players in and out. Then you just play one game. One game. We've always said that for a player to be a national team material, you need consistency. You need, even if you are off form, we know that Patrick Jaure is a national team player. We know that Ningi is a national team player. You don't just pick a player from just one game and he's a national team player and you take him to the tournament. And what are you going to be doing? What is the plan? That was the red flag from the beginning. You know, he's more like, I don't know, man. I didn't want to use the word that I was just about to use, but
I can tell you,
I don't agree.
I don't think it's for radio.
I don't think we made the correct choice.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one who's disenchanted, because we got Mandizi. The results from these 3 games are good enough pointers for ZiFA to renegotiate and, of course, for a pay cut with Logarisic. We can't afford to continue forking out $7,000 coaching tactics from this Croatia guy. He should try his luck somewhere else or go back home. This, he says, is coming from a concerned fan. Okay? Shackmanship Music says serious tournaments need serious preparations. How more serious could ZiFA have got in the preparations, Barry?
I wanted to actually jump back to the association, and this is not to jump onto their backs. I think they did their part organizationally. Where I want to jump on is that the association is supposed to hold the head coaches of national teams to account. And that happens in the office of the technical director. I really believe that where Alan said that the red flag should have been raised on those trial games, the technical director should have asked serious questions about what was going on with those trial games, because in truth, the explanation should have then been maybe not given to the nation, but at least to key stakeholders in football to say, no, this is what the coach is doing and we believe and are backing him in that regard. I don't think that Logarisic is being held to account. He seems like he's flying fast and loose, doing whatever he wants without anyone actually holding him to account. You look at even just the way that we did things. We were a comedy show at Chan, and in truth, we shouldn't have been, because when you then look at our opposition, do you think that we could have got a result from even with the squad that we had? Could we have got a result against those teams? I think yes. I think we could have been a lot braver. Rather get beaten 3-0 than losing 1-0. It's the same result. You lose all 3 points.
Well, let's hear from Leonard Maragera, who says that a dysfunctional local league, invisible skilled players, and the little we say about the coach, the better. It was always going to be tough. So there are people who say that there are a number of factors, Chris, in mitigation for Logarisic. The fact that no football has been played for 12 months, the players themselves are not exactly at the right level. But, you know, for me, I don't buy into that argument, because I'm just taking a look at, like Barry said, what is the organization of the team? What is the team shape? What are the tactics being used? Now, that doesn't matter whether you are coaching a boozers team, whether you're coaching an under-12 team, an under-19 team, or a national team. We should be able to see the team shape, the organization, the tactics. They should come out.
They should definitely come out. I think, for me personally, Logarisic has no excuses. When he took the job, when he continued with the job after seeing, look, there's no local league, etc., there's organizational issues at ZiFA, he continued with his job. At any point, Logarisic could have said, no, I can't work in this situation. What does he do? He continues. That means he was saying, you know what, even under these circumstances, I can deliver the results. He's failed to deliver the results. Regardless of the other factors surrounding him, we should be seeing, like you mentioned, the bare basics. We should be able to sit here and discuss, okay, Logarisic's system was faulty here, here, and here, but we can't do that because we don't know what the players were trying to do in any of these 3 games. The entire tournament, we can't figure out what his goal was, what his strategy was. So for me, no, I'm sorry, there's nothing in mitigation. Kanawa sign a contract to do a job. You've said, okay, under these circumstances, I am willing to work. And once you do that, the any responsibility to do with your office is solely yours.
Yeah, Mike, when you look at the mitigation about Tangatina League, qualifiers, we knew the date. We knew about our league not commencing from March. We knew that. So if you are sitting there, ZiFM and Logaroshes combined, what did you think? Why didn't you sit and think, our league is not on? What do we need to do to get our players to be well conditioned into the tournament? So this is not what you said and thought. So what did you think to mitigate that fact? At league, Magaite, what did you do so that we get our players conditioned for the tournament? That's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse, and it certainly is a good question that's coming from Alois there, that having known that there was going to be no local football, having known that COVID was around for a long time, what plans did ZiFM make? What plans did Logarosic make? And that is a question that someone will need to answer if they have a review of the tournament. Barry talked about the ZiFM structures. He mentioned the technical director of ZiFM, Wilson Mutekede. Is he going to hold Logarosic and his technical team's feet to the fire? Is he going to ask questions, or is he going to give Logarosic a free pass? But that is something that we'll have to discuss another day. We await the news to come out of 53 Livingston Avenue. In the other Group A game, Cameroon sealed their place in the quarterfinals despite playing a goalless draw with Burkina Faso, meaning that Mali finished top of Group A with 7 points, Cameroon at 5 points, Burkina Faso 4 points, and Zimbabwe at the bottom with 0 points from 3 games. Friday night, Group C, Morocco and Rwanda, goalless draw. Uganda beaten by Togo 2-1. Saturday was Group D action. Zambia and Guinea drew 1-0, whilst Namibia was beaten by Tanzania 1-0. And of course, tonight's matches are out of Group B as they look to seal qualification. It will be Congo versus Libya, Niger versus the Democratic Republic of Congo. Those should be good games in light of what's happening in Cameroon and the goals that we have seen being scored in that group.
Hi, I'm Warriors coach Zdravko Logarušić, and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference. Z.
Let's give you a quick local sports news roundup, starting with cricket, where after almost 2 years without taking to the field for the Zimbabwe women's cricket team, the ladies will finally get some action when they take on Pakistan in 3 one-dayers as well as 2 T20s. Those matches will take place next month. Zimbabwe Cricket said the proposed tour, which is subject to approval by government due to COVID-19 restrictions, will be held in a biosecure bubble with no spectators allowed at the match venue. All matches are scheduled to take place at Harare Sports Club. Moving on to athletics, where Zimbabwe's top-ranked men's marathon star Munyaradzi Jari is one of the foreign elites who decided to train at the Capsite Athletics Training Camp in Kenya. The training camp, which is some 3,000 meters above sea level, is proving to be a long-distance running mecca of sorts, with an increasing number of elite athletes pitching camp as they seek to improve their performance. In an interview, Jari said when he set foot at Capsite, he found the training program quite different from what he was used to back at home in Zimbabwe. So wrap it up with handball news. Zimbabwe Handball Federation has indefinitely put on hold the elective general meeting that had been scheduled for Saturday at Girls High School in Harare. The National Federation had engaged the Sports Commission for approval to go ahead with the elections for the National Executive following the suspension of all sporting activities at the beginning of the month. Indications, however, are that they could not get the clearance and will have to wait until circumstances change to proceed with the elections.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Don't forget, later on, our Castle Lager World Football Report will be coming up. But first, let's update you what's happening with rugby in South Africa. Well, it's a Bulls versus Sharks final, and Sharks coach Sean Everett was a happy man after his Chargers defeated Western Province 19-9 to advance to the Currie Cup final. The ball rarely passed the fly half channel as kicks and rumbling forwards were the order of proceedings. Everett says he knew the game would likely be won or lost up front. Let's hear from Western Province coach John Dobson saying losing in the semi-final was a disappointment.
More than disappointment, I'm afraid, like almost devastation. It was such an important game for us, and I think we let ourselves down in that second half a lot, and it's very sad. It's not how we wanted to finish here at Newlands, and the players, everybody's disappointed, more than disappointed. It's very disappointed. Yeah, I think in the first half they defended our mauls very well. I don't think we were very accurate there, also off our maul transition, so I think we should have got more reward after the first half. We spoke about giving away penalties in the middle of the field, and I think we gave away 7 or 8 in that area. In the second half, our discipline went quite poor. Was quite poor. We didn't defend the mauls as well as we should have either. So it wasn't a great game of rugby. You got one try in it, which is a pick and go.
Mike, you called it. You said it would be a Bulls Sharks final. Firstly, congratulations to you and Sean for calling it right. What do we know about rugby? But in truth, it's absolutely going to be a great final, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think a great final. You've got the kicking game of the Sharks, and I doubt they're going to change their tactics heading into the final. And then you've got the power and the structure of the Bulls. So I think we can expect contrasting tactics from those teams. The Sharks will need to minimize the mistakes, cut out the mistakes, cut out the penalty opportunities, because the place kicking from the Bulls has been absolutely outstanding with the likes of Monet Steyn. So they don't want to give them any chances at all from distance, because that could well decide which team comes out on top.
Certainly. So it's going to be the Bulls taking on the Sharks at Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria. The Bulls having a home final. Can they make it a homecoming to remember?
Hi, I'm Trevor Nyakani, the Blue Bulls and Springbok prop, and now you're listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in Abu Dhabi, where Conor McGregor admitted he was heartbroken after a shock UFC knockout by underdog Dustin Poirier left the superstar's future in the cage uncertain. McGregor had been an overwhelming favorite to register a winning return after a year away from the octagon, but Poirier, who lost in 109 seconds to McGregor in their first fight in 2014, used a lower leg kicking strategy to negotiate his opponent's stand-up style. The American then launched a sustained barrage of blows to the head, culminating in a straight right, dropping McGregor on the floor moments before the fight was stopped at 2 minutes 32 seconds of the second round. We'll head over to California, where Siwoo Kim defied a magnificent final round charge from Patrick Cantlay to clinch his first PGA Tour title in almost 4 years at the American Express. Cantlay made 11 birdies in his closing 61, which posted 22 under par, one ahead of Kim at the time, but the South Korean birdied 16 and 17 and capped an impressive 64, which secured him the victory with a nerveless par at the last. We'll touch down in Wisconsin, where Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers will face reigning champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, in Super Bowl 55 on the 7th of February. Brady threw 3 touchdown passes to help the Buccaneers defeat the Green Bay Packers 31-26 in a thrilling NFC Championship game to reach their first Super Bowl in 18 years. The Chiefs then beat the Buffalo Bills 38-24 to seal the AFC Championship.
All the rivalry.
Here is Harry Kane for Tottenham. Oh, what a goal! A classic derby goal from Harry Kane. Catch him if you can.
All the stars.
Oh, back heels Liverpool 2 in front. Talk about impudent. Talk about improvisation. Talk about Sadio Mane.
And all the game-changing moments.
And Raheem Sterling rattles it home. And once more, City are in front in a trice.
All the updates from the Premier League on ZiFM Sport.
It was FA Cup action over the weekend, the oldest and most prestigious cup competition in the world, some would say. But the Champions League, of course, has come along in leaps and bounds in recent years. But this one is for the traditionalists, surely beaten by Wolves 1-0 at home. Brighton with a 2-1 victory over Blackpool. Doncaster Rovers upended by West Ham 4-0. Cheltenham Town tried as best as they could to pull off a shocker. Took the lead versus City, but City scored 3 goals late to win that one. Chelsea 3-1 winners over Luton Town. Brentford beaten by Leicester City 3-1. Fulham upended at home by Burnley 3-0. And Everton convincing over Sheffield Wednesday 3-0. Now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes that United's 3-2 victory over Liverpool was a statement to his players after reaching the FA Cup 5th round. Let's hear from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
It's fantastic to go into or win games against obviously last year's champions, a fantastic team, and we've had good results over the last couple of years, playing different systems. But this time, we play on our terms as well. We've found a way that we believe in, the players believe in, and we're getting stronger and stronger. Mentality to come back, being 1-0 down. We've shown that so many times this season, and I feel physically as well we're stronger and stronger, and we last the games much more.
Alois, you've got to say that this was a statement win by United over the old enemy, as it were, a 3-2 victory in a very thrilling and entertaining game, and just the sort of result that United need in order to give them the belief that they can compete on all fronts.
Yeah, Mike, that was actually a great win for Manchester United, especially beating Liverpool. These are the champions, the current champions. And you know what? Manchester United are thinking of winning the league. Now they are sitting on top of the log, and they believe that they can do it. But now when you beat a team like Liverpool, the former champions, you actually have that belief that, we can actually go on and actually win the championship. I think this win was not much to do with the FA Cup, but much to do with the league as well. So that you can gauge yourself that if we can beat Liverpool, we can go on and beat everybody else and win the league. So for belief, I think that was actually one of the best results for Manchester United so far this season.
And for Liverpool, Barry, where does this live? The red season, knocked out of the FA Cup now, out of the League Cup, floundering in the league. And what do you think will be the thinking on Merseyside?
Well, I think the thinking on Merseyside and probably across the pond in America with the owners FSG is that there needs to be some expenditure done. Whether in the next 7 days while the window's still open, that expenditure is going to be done, or it's going to be done in the summer transfer window, there has to be some beefing up done. And I think it's clear for everyone, fans, owners, the team itself, everyone alike. The entire Liverpool family realizes that there's got to be some depth because they're sorely lacking yesterday.
Oh, well, talking about upsets, there was something of an upset because the FA Cup holders Arsenal, the Gunners, were knocked out by Southampton on Saturday after a first half own goal by Gabriel. So the holders Arsenal are out, and tonight's action will see Wickham taking on Tottenham. Jose Mourinho still in the cup. Remember, he's still in the hunt as well as far as the League Cup is concerned. We talked about Chelsea earlier when I gave you the results. They had a 3-1 victory over Luton Town. What I can tell you is that it was not enough to save Frank Lampard's job, because earlier this afternoon, around midday, Roman Abramovich wielded the axe and showed Frank Lampard the door. He is no longer the Chelsea manager, and Chelsea are reported to be in talks with Thomas Tuchel, who will take over at Stamford Bridge after he was dismissed a few weeks ago from PSG. So Chris, Frank Lampard is gone, and we did talk about it a couple of weeks ago that the next 2 weeks would be crucial in terms of him keeping his job at Chelsea. It looks like even that win versus lowly Luton Town was not going to be enough, because one of the things that was mentioned by Roman Abramovich in his statement is that the club, it says, however, recent results and performances have not met club expectations, leaving the club mid-table without any clear path to sustained improvement. That's the worry, isn't it? That, here's a guy who might be able to get a win here, a win there, beat Luton Town, maybe even beat Liverpool or Manchester United, but there seems to be no formula to the way he's going about his business.
If you take a look at Chelsea at the moment, Chelsea, we can see they've got the firepower, they've got the players, they've got the arsenal. With that kind of a squad, we should be able to see a distinct trajectory. No one is saying that Frank Lampard needed to necessarily have a string of wins for us to see that Chelsea is going in a particular direction. But you can see a club going in a particular direction when you can pick out the style of play, when you can pick out what the manager's trying to do, when you can consistently see the team playing in a particular way. And with Frank Lampard, that unfortunately wasn't the case. Doesn't help.
Can I say something, Chris? This almost sounds like it's like deja vu. This is exactly what you say of Logaricic. It's almost like Frank Lampard is the English Logaricic.
Literally. Frank Lampard didn't have the nous. He doesn't have the experience for a club like Chelsea. There's a lot of pressure to perform at Chelsea, and unfortunately for him, he was given all of the tools and all of the money, and everything was at his disposal. So at this point, I don't blame Roman Abramovich at all.
Alois, where did it go wrong for Frank Lampard? You were very vocal in your support of Frank Lampard. You back young managers. You love young managers being given an opportunity, especially at big clubs. Where do you feel Frank Lampard lost it?
Yeah, I think Frank Lampard didn't believe in himself. He didn't have a philosophy that he believed in, because, sometimes when you have that kind of philosophy, if you look across town, there is Mikel Arteta. He was losing games. But what were we saying? We could see what he was trying to do. I think that's what kept his job. That's what kept him on his job. Because people see they're not really stupid. They'll be looking. But this guy is trying to do A, B, C. I think Roman Abramovich also did the same with Frank Lampard. He wanted to see what he is trying to do. Then when Frank Lampard started chopping and changing his team, changing the center backs, changing him, I think that's when he decided, no, this dude doesn't know what he's doing. Even myself, I was believing in Frank Lampard. But when he started doing it, I think that's when he lost it. Because there we now saw good, he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know where he's going. Once you start doing that, we are lost. Like you're saying, Lugaric's style, that's what he did. That's what everybody saw, and he lost it.
Now, Barry, if you take a look at the timing of the decision, the fact that we are almost halfway through the season, it looks like Roman Abramovich not willing to take any risks, any chances with Champions League qualification. It looks like the statement he's making is that Champions League qualification is a bare minimum considering the type of players and the type of wages that we have at our club. The likes of Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Thiago Silva, all those players. Tell me about Thomas Tuchel, the man who's being reported as the manager to take over. Do you think that he'll be able to achieve that? Do you think that he can galvanize Chelsea and get them moving in a definitive direction?
Good choice of manager. I think he knows how to do what he does. He did at PSG. Some people might say it's easy to win the league in France with Paris Saint-Germain. You still got to do it. And he did it. Took them to a Champions League final. So a man who can do the business. I don't see him lasting at Chelsea. I don't think he's a cultural fit at Chelsea. He's more your humble, likes to get on with the job type guy. Roman Abramovich and the Chelsea model and culture is more around arrogance, beating himself.
But don't you think, Barry, don't you think success will determine how long he stays in West London?
We've got recorded cases of managers who have been successful at Chelsea and still got the sack. Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League for goodness sake and still was shown the door. So it's not a complete definer of how long he lost at Chelsea. But that's us jumping ahead of ourselves. Bottom line is, if they manage to get this over the line with Thomas Tuchel, he'll be a very good appointment.
From Rufaro to Barberfields, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Let's give you a quick roundup around the leagues in Europe, starting in Italy. Your results from the weekend: Benevento 2-2 draw with Torino, Genoa 1-0 victors over Cagliari, and then Hellas Verona pulling off somewhat of a surprise victory over Napoli. 3-1 they prevailed. Lazio 2-1 winners over Sassuolo. Now Sampdoria upending Parma at their own home ground 2-0. Sampdoria prevailed in that game. Roma 4-3 winners over Spezia, and Fiorentina 2-1 winners over Crotone. We talked about a weekend of surprises in Italy. Well, the surprises don't end with that Napoli loss, because Zlatan Ibrahimovic was left frustrated after AC Milan's 3-0 defeat at Atalanta. The Swede says the performance wasn't good enough on the day. This is the all-conquering AC Milan, at least for this season, but Atalanta are always a tough nut to crack. Antonio Conte insists Inter will continue to focus on themselves and not Milan after missing out on the chance to leapfrog their rivals at the top of Serie A following a goalless draw with Udinese. Big chance missed. Juventus have moved to within 7 points of Serie A log leaders Milan after beating Bologna 2-0 at the Allianz Stadium last night. So the old lady, probably the biggest beneficiaries of this weekend in Italy.
Heading into Spain now, some results from La Liga. Levante and Real Valladolid drew 2-2. Huesca and Villarreal coming to a 0-0 draw. Sevilla emphatic 3-0 win over Cadiz. Real Sociedad and Real Betis drew 2-2. Osasuna 3-1 against Granada, and Celta Vigo and Aiba drawing 1-1. Atletico Madrid beat Valencia 3-1, and manager Diego Simeone is keeping calm over his side's La Liga title charge despite Los Rojiblancos' 7-point lead at the top of the table. Ronald Koeman praised Frankie de Jong for improving the attack aspect of his game after chipping in with another goal and an assist in Barcelona's 2-0 win over Elche. And Real Madrid assistant coach David Bertoni urged patience with Eden Hazard after the playmaker showed signs of his best in a 4-1 win over Deportivo Alavés. Tonight's action sees Athletic Club taking on Getafe.
Let's wrap it up with results out of the German Bundesliga. Bayern Munich coach Hansi Flick believes his team can do much better despite racking up an impressive 4-0 win at Schalke last night. Schalke, the bottom side in the Bundesliga. Other results, Mainz and Leipzig playing out a thrilling 5-goal thriller. Mainz the victors 3-2 in that one. Bayer Leverkusen beaten at home 1-0 by Wolfsburg. Arminia Bielefeld thumped at home by Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1. Augsburg 2-1 victors over Union Berlin. Freiburg 2-1 winners over Stuttgart. Over in Westphalia, Borussia Dortmund sports coach Michael Zorc has reiterated that the club remain behind interim coach Edin Terzic despite the club's recent poor form. The 4-2 defeat to Borussia Mönchengladbach on Friday night means it is now 3 games without a win for Dortmund. The rest of your results, Hertha Berlin thumped at home by Werder Bremen 4-1, and Hoffenheim with an impressive 3-0 victory over Cologne.
That's all we have time for. We're back tomorrow for Top Eight Tuesday. Don't miss it. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.